All right, guys. I'm pretty excited about this one because I think concrete poems are really fun, and I know you will have just heard from Mrs. Headland probably by the time you get to this video, so that should be super, super fun. So I want to remind you the 5 elements of poetry is still something we're talking about this week, and the one we're going to talk about today is actually voice. Now, voice is probably the most important part of poems. So I'm going to read this to you first, and then we'll chat about it. It says, poems are meant to be shared and read out loud. Poems with voice speak to the reader. Poems can rhyme and often sound like lyrics to a song. Sometimes alliteration is used to create patterns, repetition, and rhythm. Poetry can create feelings that generate emotion and cause the reader or listener to feel something. So voice is one of those important things, and really the best advice that I can give you, the more you read poetry and the more you just practice poetry, you will build that poetry voice. It's not something that I can just like teach you how to really quickly do poetry voice. It's something that you kind of have to just practice over time. But I will tell you this, that's why we learn about things like alliteration, and we talk about repetition and rhythm and also patterns in poetry, so you can start to see that when you say something over and over again in a poem, it kind of gives it power. It shows you that that's the thing that you're supposed to be talking about the most. So this one doesn't necessarily match to our lesson today, but that's fine. I still wanted to just talk to you a little bit about voice and make sure you understand that poetry, one of the reasons that people love it so much is how it really just makes them feel something. Really makes you feel, if you're sad, you sometimes like to read sad poetry to kind of get yourself through that emotion, or maybe you want to read a lot of happy poetry. I love silly poetry. It makes me laugh really hard. Shel Silverstein is one of my very favorites, and he's really good at this stuff. He has got a great poetry voice. So that being said, like I already told you, we are going to learn concrete poems today, which are also known as shape poems, and you've probably done these before. So a shape poem is meant to be written to represent an object which you're describing. The poem can be written in the shape of the object, and the artwork adds to the visual effect of this type of poem. So for example, here they drew a picture of a book, or rather they found a picture of a book, and then they kind of fit the words on the inside. And then on this one, it looks like they came up with a poem about the color of eyes, or sorry, just about eyes in general, and they wrote a poem about their eyes. So let's look at their concrete poem about a book. And I also want you to notice that it never once says the word book, but because it's in this shape and it's on top of this picture, we know exactly what it is they're talking about. I am full of stories, and my words can take you anywhere in the world in your imagination. I give knowledge to my readers. Treat me with respect. So I like that it's short, and I like that it's all about those, about what a book can do for you. And then this one says, the eyes around us, bright, clear, shining orbs, eye, very useful for seeing, blue, brown, gray, green, hazel, black, pink, red. I like this one too because it doesn't actually matter where you start. You're still going to get the idea of the entire poem. So maybe I could start in the middle. Eye, very useful for seeing. The eyes around us, bright, clear, shining orbs, red, pink, black, hazel, green, gray, brown, blue. Doesn't matter, you're still getting the idea of an eye. So I went a bit of a different route today, and I wanted mine to be about a cougar, but not just any cougar. I wanted it to be about our Cathcart cougars. So what I did is I left a big picture of a cougar paw or cougar track on the screen, and I'm going to write over the top of this with my poem that I came up with, and it's just kind of silly. I wrote it to be kind of fun. So I said, Mrs. Headland loves literature. And then I said, Mrs. Forbes musically motivates us. And then I said, Mr. Billheimer, oh gosh, physically prepares us. And then I talked about our counselor. I thought that'd be a good one since I had a fourth cougar track paw. I said, Mrs. Lee counsels and cares. And then obviously the big one in the middle has to be about Mr. Anderson. And I said that he leads us with a kind heart and fair mind. So again, you could do something like that too. So even though it's really meant to be about a real cougar, I chose to do about our Cathcart Cougars since that is our school mascot. And again, you can, or something else to point out, you see here that I did like a little bit of alliteration. So I thought, okay, Mr. Billheimer, even though his name starts with a B, he technically teaches P. So I went with the letter P. For Miss Forbes, she's got music. Miss Headland's got library. And then Miss Lee is our counselor. So I tried to do a little bit of alliteration with their letters, and that was just for fun. It's not anything that you have to do in a concrete poem, okay? So remember that in your piece of paper today, they're just giving you a big blank canvas. So think about anything that you know a lot about, or you could even just do a cougar track and talk about, you know, maybe all the teachers that you've had kindergarten to now, and that could be kind of fun. But I can't wait to hear. Remember to share it on, oh, I'm writing in in white ink. Remember to share it on Flipgrid. You can share it on Zoom call. Just make sure you let me know ahead of time. And then you can also share it just to your family would be fine too. Remember, poetry is meant to be read out loud, so read it out loud. Have fun.